All right, gang, in studio with us, we have one of my closest allies in this community, a heck of a good dude, and also a former high school basketball standout at West Fargo.
Yeah, well, if you count junior varsity, hardest worker cut before varsity, yes, that is very true.
Mr. Greg Tehven of Emerging Prairie and all things Fargo. Great to have you in studio with us, Greg. Give us an idea and an overview quickly of what Emerging Prairie is before we go too deep.
Yeah, Emerging Prairie exists to connect and celebrate our entrepreneurial ecosystem. We do a variety of events such as Drone Focus, or we host 1 million cups. We also have a co-working space downtown called the Prairie Den, and we're huge advocates for our community. We love to celebrate the risk takers, the entrepreneurs, the creatives, the misfits. We believe they make a huge impact.
You have found a creative niche for all things quirky and all things startup. What you do, Greg, is so obscure that it works. How do you explain the success of Emerging Prairie to people who are outsiders? Because I'm an insider in a sense, and yet I still am just fascinated with how you've done so well.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks that we discuss outside the community, it makes sense. There's a long history of supporting entrepreneurs in major metros. I think it's new in our area. It's new in North Dakota to celebrate folks. When we hear from Howard Dahl at Amity or Barry Batchelor at Apario, they'll often say, wow, I wish I would have had something like this when I was getting going. And so I think there's a built-up demand of celebrating these types of entrepreneurs. I think for most folks, it's hard to articulate it, but there's an experience. We focus a lot of our efforts on experiential design. How do people have a fantastic experience? And sometimes there's not words to describe that, so it makes it difficult. We do a lot of invitations. We invite people to participate. When they come, they check it out. They get a sense of what we're trying to accomplish.
Greg, you have continued to bring new ideas to the forefront of Fargo, and one of the things that you brought here 6 years ago, is that right?
Yeah, 2012 in February. I had just moved back to the area, and we were looking to spread ideas.
And so to spread ideas, you brought the TED platform, which really wasn't known at that time. I mean, I think you were on the end, but TED is something that now is a household name, and yet not everybody knows about the TED platform. So what does it mean when we hear the word TED?
TED was a conference started in the 80s for the intellectual elite in California. It was very wealthy folks coming together to talk about technology, entertainment, and design. And in the early 2000s, a British journalist named Chris Anderson acquired TED, which was a for-profit, and moved it into a non-profit. And he did two really important things. One is he put the videos available online for free on YouTube, and they've been viewed over 2 billion times now.
That doesn't include my clicks.
Yeah. And then the second bit is that he gave the platform to communities where he created, his team created the TEDx, independently organized event. So there's over 10,000 TEDx events around the world every single year.
And you brought TEDx to Fargo back in 2012.
Yeah, I had just moved back to the area. I was asked to give a talk in Minneapolis at TEDx TC, and I told the organizer I'd be willing to do it if he'd be willing to coach me to get TEDx off the ground in Fargo.
And now this is the 9th?
So we're getting ready for our 8th TEDx Fargo. There's been a couple TEDx NDSU. There's been TEDx Youth at Fargo. So the platform has really grown in the region.
And so what does it look like? Because I know that as a participant, as a former host, as a major, like I'm bringing 25 people from my office because I believe in it so much. What's going to happen for TEDx? When is it happening? What's happening? And why is it such a big deal for our community?
Our 8th TEDx will be Thursday, July 27th. And on that day, folks are going to have an opportunity. We think about it as a spa for the brain. We want to create this world-class experience with great food, great experiences, and then great content. On that day, folks can go on adventures. So if you're into rooftop yoga, you're going to have an opportunity to do that. You're going to have an opportunity to participate with some of our speakers. And then you're going to have great coffee, great people to meet. And we're going to have 24 speakers on that stage. And these speakers are from all over the country. They bring different ideas. They're short talks. Some of the talks will be 4 minutes long, at most 12. If it goes over 12, I get uncomfortable. But folks are going to have an opportunity to try these ideas on. There's going to be entertainment. There's going to be production value. It really is a day of learning and meeting great people.
Greg Tehven, again, founder of Emerging Prairie and all things Kick Butt with TEDx, in studio with us. And Greg, you've done some masterful things with our local TEDx Fargo. Is it true that we're one of the top TEDx's now in the country?
Yeah,
in the world?
from a size-wise, for sure. We're 2,000 likely attendees this year. The next largest is 1,000 in Rochester, Minnesota. So on a size-wise, we're strong. The videos are okay. Our views have been 2.5 million so far. But what we're really great at is turning ideas into impact. We don't want this just to be one day of learning and people go to bed, they feel good, and the next day it's over. We're transforming our communities with these ideas. So there is story after story of speakers that have shared their idea, the local community partners with them, and big change happens.
Whether it's big or small, I think one of my favorite examples is it was a TEDx Fargo speaker years ago that talked about the little public libraries, right?
Yeah, so Todd Bull came and gave this talk on how more people needed access to books. And so we partnered up with the Fargo-Moorhead Area Foundation and some volunteers the day before, and we built a bunch of these libraries with Todd. The next day, he shares his idea, and now every single day I see a little free library around our community. We have a lot of little free libraries, and more people have an opportunity to grab a book, to leave a book, and to increase their knowledge.
Beautiful thing that you're doing here, Greg. What is it that we have to look forward to? Because I think you have some really dynamite speakers this year. Who are a couple of your favorite standouts?
Yeah,
all of them are your favorites.
Yeah, all of them are my favorites. But my role as curator is to try to think about, with a group of folks, we have a committee on what content is going to resonate in the community right now. And so the Bison football team happened to win a few games, and all those
I hadn't heard.
Oh yeah, so they won 5 championships. But the team, the sports commentator was a guy called Anish, and he was the ESPN commentator that called all those games in the 5 playoff runs. And he's coming to TEDx Fargo. He loves this place, and he's going to give a pretty challenging talk on authenticity, and I'm really looking forward to Anish's talk. It'll be fun to have him back. I'm looking forward to Wendy Gillis. She's the CEO of the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City. It's a $2 billion foundation that supports entrepreneurs, and she's going to give a talk about the middle. What is it like to be from middle America? What is it like to be from middle income? And what is it like to be from the flyover states? And so I think she's going to give a very relevant talk, not only for our community, but rural communities that maybe are a little smaller than our area. And then, another one that I'm looking forward to is Gavin. Gavin is a chef in Minneapolis. He runs a restaurant called Spoon and Stable. It's a 3-month waiting line in Minneapolis to get in it. He's the judge on Celebrity Chef Contest, and he's going to talk about food. I like food. I think you like food. And a lot of people like food, and he's really damn good at food.
So we're getting everything from sports to food to CEOs to everything in between. TEDx Fargo. Again, remind people where they can get tickets and when the date is.
Thursday, July 27th. You're not going to want to miss it. www.tedxfargo.com. That's going to give you an opportunity to look at how to buy your ticket. We have student tickets, we have group tickets, and also you're going to get a list at all 24 speakers. And these are professors, these are academics. There's some humorous talks. One guy, you're going to love this guy, Eric. I think you're going to want to hang out with him. He was on Shark Tank, and Mark Cuban invested $10,000 in his company. I want to draw a cat for you, where he draws stick figure cats for $20. Mark Cuban invested in his company. Last year, he couldn't be with us when you were our host because he was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But he's coming to town from Chicago. There's going to be an opportunity for you to learn about these speakers. We'd love for folks to come. It's going to be about 2,000 people. We just had a bus of 50 people from Bemidji sign up. Yeah. I was looking at the geography of where people coming from: Florida, New York, Boston, West Coast. Literally, it's the best learning day of the year.
Greg, thanks for what you do. Thanks for giving back to the community. TEDxfargo.com, folks. Don't miss it. And stick around with Real Estate Radio. We'll be right back after the break.